Hi, welcome back to the Unbreakable Ambition podcast with Racynta, Coach Home Chaser, Growth Coach of Alabama. And we're excited today because we have a new episode with one of my dearest friends, not just friend, but also one that I sold a home to in 2018 when I transitioned at Remax. And it's Dr. Gloria Esamir, and also entrepreneur transitioning to Dubai from Georgia. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you for having me, Racynta. It's so good to reconnect and just I'm just looking forward to having a great conversation with you.
We welcome you here, Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. I'm just excited about seeing you. I haven't seen you in it's been about 6 months, and we still call each other friends because you
We are
gotta.
friends.
Yes, we have those friends that if I pick up that phone, she's gonna answer. She's gonna give me that tough love and say, "Racynta, you're better than that. Racynta, look, stop shortcutting yourself, Racynta." I love it. So that's why I want to add Gloria to the podcast as an entrepreneur, real estate investor. All of these things that we envisioned that we talked about, now we're both achieving. So tell us a little bit about you, Gloria.
Oh, thank you. I'm Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria, did my med school in Nigeria, and then moved over to the US in 2011. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when I moved to the US, Racynta, I came with $250. That was all I had. And I had this big dream. I said, okay, I want to do my master's, my PhD, and then I'm going to get into a residency. And then, it seemed impossible at the time. I wasn't even a US citizen at the time. I came on a visiting visa.
Mhm.
But looking back now, Racynta, I've accomplished all of that and more. And so I did my master's in Boston University and then moved over to University of South Carolina for my PhD and then Alabama for my residency where I met you in was it my first or second year? I can't recall, but I met you during residency and we've been friends and we've connected since then. Then from Alabama, I moved over to Georgia where I worked a few years. I had different roles. I've worked as a hospitalist. I've worked as a medical director of palliative care. I work as an internist, but now I just transitioned to Dubai, like literally 4 days ago. So I just moved to Dubai.
And look, we're the Unbreakable podcast is all the way in Dubai right now with Dr. Gloria to get down to the growing and showing in what your goals are because it's all about getting to the point where you need to be fulfilled. And I feel like me going through this transition over the last 7, 8 years with real estate, meeting Dr. Gloria as a client that sold a home and I talked her into doing more investments and now maybe other investments in Dubai. So look, just look, be proud. Give us the pat on the back. Just say all those hard talks we have with each other is paying off.
It
We're
is
growing.
it is paying off.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit more about you. Like I know you came from Nigeria. The I love you don't want to introduce me to imposter syndrome. I don't know if you remember that. Because she's like Racynta, you have imposter syndrome. You are so past all of this with real estate. You're gonna do all these different things. And I remember you sending me one morning a text, and it actually had the struggles that you went through with imposter syndrome. And I started basically journaling myself with imposter syndrome. And I'm like, oh gosh, I do have it. Because you experienced it when you every time you leveled up and self-sabotage and bring yourself back down. So tell us a little bit about that with entrepreneurs and even medical students. How could they navigate against imposter
So in my introduction, I didn't mention this, but I coach professional women on how to negotiate so they
syndrome?
can get the salary they deserve and have work-life balance. And then just going back with negotiation, the first rule of negotiation is knowing the value you bring. Right. And that ties into imposter syndrome. And many of us who are high achievers, we So let's say you're supposed to, just for just a simple analogy, you're supposed to score 100% in the test. The maximum score you can have is 100%. When you score 90, you're not focused on the 90 that you got right. You're focused on the 10% that you missed, right? Just that applies to every other thing in life. So when you move on to a bigger space, you're like, oh, I'm supposed to know this. I'm supposed to communicate at this level, but I'm not. But what about the other things that you're getting right? So
Right.
imposter syndrome, it comes when we level up. And then when we're leveling up, we're looking at the things we haven't really achieved and we feel we do not deserve to be on that space. And recently I was talking to one of my clients. She's really smart. She, like you, Racynta, she's like super smart, very organized, has her act together, but she does not realize how great she is. And she's like, "Oh, I don't feel," and she's a doctor. She's like, "Oh, I don't feel like," I'm like, "No, you are. You're just looking at your weak points. And the more you look at your weak points, the more you emphasize your weak points, the more you're going to feel like you don't belong." However, you can flip that narrative and say, hey, I was able to do this. I was able to do this. I was able to do this. And if I was able to do this, I may not have everything I need, but I deserve to be here. I've earned the right to be here. And the
Yeah.
things I don't know, I'm going to learn those. I wasn't born, Recinta, I wasn't born a doctor. You were not born a real estate guru. We
Yeah.
learned all of these along the way, and anything we don't know, we can just have that. Say, I don't know this yet, but I'm going to learn it. However, I know this, and you can't take that from me. So that helps people deal with imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and I thank you for that because gratitude, waking up with the gratitude and giving thanks for the talents that you do have and that you're still able to serve and help others with that talent and create a great lifestyle is very important because we look, especially with social media and the way concepts are, compare and contrast, right? We
Ooh,
can't compare and contrast. We gotta
ooh.
know our talent and what we bring to that table.
Table.
Yeah, and even with me being a real estate, I feel like agent and did a lot of things that most people haven't done in the short span I've been an agent. But the entrepreneur experience that I had over 23 years built up that experience. That experience built me up to be able to navigate, and it gets
Right.
tough because I get invited sometimes to tables, and I'm like, God, now how did I get at this table again? And I have to go and research and realize who I am, what value I can bring. And they saw something in me that basically is needed to help others. So, yeah,
Correct.
I always thank you for that because I didn't know anything about imposter syndrome. And matter of fact, I would say this, you guys, I was, when I first learned about John Maxwell at the Church of Highlands, and now I'm a certified John Maxwell coach, trainer, executive member, all these things. Gloria told me when I left the I didn't know who he was, so I left the church. We were selling a house. I was selling her first home, and I reached out to her, and I'm like, "Look, we talk about books all the time, right? Because
We do.
books help us grow." And I
They
tell
do.
I was like, "Who is this Sean Maxwell guy?" And she was like, "Racynta, oh my gosh, I've been reading about him ever since I was 8, 12 in Nigeria. Do you not know he's the 80/20 guy that you talked about weeks ago?" And I was so intrigued, but not only attracted by his intentional living and also the Felon Forward book. So I can say I thank you for telling me more about him because I didn't know anything about him. But now that information that you gave me, it also guided me to be higher in the organization now to be doing more things in there and I'm gonna push more things out with them in the next couple weeks and months. But I thank you. But tell us about the books.
So let me flip the gratitude, right? So my first house, I bought it through you. That was my first taste of real estate. So now that I moved to Dubai, I don't plan on working till, I'm doing my coaching, but I'm a doctor. So
Mhm.
and that's what I do. But and my doctor salary is fat. However, I can, just because of the real estate that I've invested in the US, I can afford to say, you know what? I know I have income coming in while I'm here, just trying to figure out the terrain. So you got me in that direction, like my very first home. Um,
She still have that home, you guys, because she was gonna sell it, and I talked her into keeping it because even if real estate go down, it goes up 10 times higher, and that investment has been a great investment for her here in Albany too, homes,
You
right?
know what? You know why it was a great investment, Racynta? So when I tell people about my real estate
Mhm.
journey, I tell them that my first home, I bought
Uh-huh.
it for $2,000. Remember?
Yeah,
Because I did the physician loan, and at that time it was the buyer's market, so they covered all the closing costs,
yeah.
and then the physician loan covered most of, the down payment, and all I had to pay was maybe for inspection, and so it
Mhm.
just turned out to be $2,000 for my first home. So, I heard about the program, but I didn't really plug into it. But when I talked to you, you're like, "Oh, I got something for you. There's this program I know of." And then you linked me up with some other banker, and then we got things going.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing is getting an area, marketing, or if you're a first time home buyer, because I remember you came to the office, you was like, no, I don't want a 200 and something $1,000 home. I want $100,000 home. And I'm like, well, if we go over here and get the 100 or 120, the whole thing, I see you being here as an investor down the line. I
Yeah.
remember in the office and you shut me down. You was like, no, I don't want any more of your PowerPoint. I want 100,000. And we went to the $100,000 area. And
And I was like,
you was like,
"Mm,
oh no, this would
no."
not give me a return. And I was like, I told you. So you trusted me as that agent and you went there and the return has been great because that area they're still building. There's nothing going 200,000. Everything is 350 or higher now. It's a blessing. And I thank you for trusting me. And just we basically this where the friendship started, you guys, because
Yes.
Dr. Gloria is gonna give me that tough love that I need to push on and stop sharp and cutting myself. And I'll do the same to her. But
Yes.
that's why I said it's love. Even when she comes to my house, I remember us sitting out after Imani's graduation party
Yes.
to like midnight, and we was out there up under the gazebo, just talking about life and where we're going to
Yes.
be. Where I felt like, oh, I'm just basically doing these sales to coach and help others to pave their way, and I feel like it's a better market there to help people based upon your experience. So tell us
Yes.
about you with coaching too, as medical students and doctors. Tell us what.
So I don't really I mentor medical
Yeah.
students, but they can afford me. Medical students can they can afford my coaching. So I mentor them. So if there I have a few people who would reach out to me, and then they're trying to find their way. And there's a simple thing I tell kids who are trying to figure out what it is they want from life. I'm like, it's just two things to choose a career. The first is, what do you really enjoy?
Mhm.
Right? And it's both equal. There's no one or the other. What do you really enjoy? What could you possibly do for free? And then the second is, what would give you the lifestyle that you want? Right.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, I say, I like very expensive things. I love to fly business class, but but I love to teach. You
Mhm.
can marry those together, or if you want to, then you have to be very creative. You're like, oh, I love to teach kindergarten kids. That's what I'm not dissing any profession, right? It's just sad that teachers don't get paid what they deserve. I think being a
Yes.
teacher is the highest calling ever. Well, no,
Mhm.
it's the second highest calling to being a mother. Well,
Yes.
being a teacher, you are literally teaching. You're framing the whole world,
Mhm.
but they don't get paid enough, right? So
Mhm.
if you say, I love being a teacher, I just enjoyed when I'm with those kids that come alive. However, I want to buy like a Prada purse every month. I want
Uh-huh.
to travel. You can't afford that. So there would be there'll be some dissatisfaction with your job. However, if you say, you know what, I just love to teach. I don't really care about nice things. I am very minimalistic. Then yes, that's
Yes.
the right pick
For
for
you.
you.
Yes.
And when we talk about the lifestyle, not just finance, let me use medicine as an example. I'll use myself as an example, actually.
Mhm.
So, when I started working, I was working as a hospitalist. It
Mhm.
sounded great to me initially because they said, "Oh, you're gonna work 7 days on, seven days off." I was like, fabulous, because I was coming in from residency where where we worked crazy hours. We didn't even count the hours we worked. We just worked. We just showed up at work.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you just roll up from your bed. You're like, oh my God. And then you just keep going. And then you come back the next morning and it's just like, you just keep going until some days you're just like, I don't know if I can get up anymore. But that's what the life
Yeah,
was.
you gotta
So
push
telling,
yourself. Yes.
yes. So telling me 7 on, 7 off, I was like, beautiful, I'm gonna do it. But the reality did not really go well with me because I
Mhm.
realized I didn't have all my weekends off. So 2 weekends a month I had to work. Um, and then I also didn't have all my holidays because if I had Thanksgiving off, then I have to work Christmas. And then
Mhm.
I would have to, or if I work Christmas, then I can't have new. It was just, that was a trade-off. And I said, this is not for me. Right? So it didn't give me the lifestyle that I wanted because I wanted to be able to spend all my, because I've been in training, because just with all what I went through with my training, doing med school, doing a
Yes.
master's, doing a PhD and residency, and then I was done, I still didn't have that time to spend with my family. I felt, okay,
I
what was the point in
remember.
doing all of this if I still can't spend time with my family?
Yeah.
So I had to make a switch from being a hospitalist, then I moved on to palliative care. So back to what I was talking about with the kids that I mentor or people,
Mhm.
and not just kids, anyone who is in the phase where they're trying to figure out, oh, where am I going with my career or what do I want? Is those two questions you ask yourself. What do I enjoy and what's going to give me the lifestyle that I want? When you can nail down those two, then you're good because the job I just resigned from, which was I was working as an internal medicine doctor in a clinic. It was the perfect life for me. Initially, I was working 4 days a week. I was able to negotiate 3 days a week, full pay, all the benefits. So I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and I had all my Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. I could
Sundays.
travel and I had so much vacation days that it gave me the lifestyle that I wanted, and the pay was still good enough that I could live the way I wanted to live. But when it comes to like much more mature women who are professionals, I help. So one of my clients, I'll just give maybe like a couple of
Mhm. Yes.
examples, right? So
Uh-huh.
one of my clients, she was in residency when I started working with her,
Mhm.
and it was still that imposter syndrome she was struggling with. She was an OBGYN resident. She would say, and she was going through a tough time with training because she would beat herself and then the training program would beat her. So it was coming from two sides. I said, no, you can't beat yourself. She was like, no, I want to be able to do this procedure, that procedure, that procedure. Then I
Oh,
started bringing up, I said, no, what you're talking about is 10 years
oh my God.
experience. I said, you can't have 10 years experience while
Yes.
you're still in training. You need to go out in the world and go get that experience. And then I pushed her just a little bit. You know how I push?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
A
But
little bit, not firm. And then I said, go get a job. And then she went out there, started interviewing, then she got a job. Now, as we speak, she's the medical director of an OBGYN program, and she progressed really fast. So that's one of the people I work with. So I help women do that. And then I have another client. So she worked as a contractor and
uh-huh.
they were trying to mess with her
Uh-huh.
salary and
Uh-huh.
contract. So I worked with her to get we worked together. I said, "Do they realize you are a doctor?" She was like, "Well, because I'm not working as a doctor in this role, I didn't push that in." I was like, no, that's something you bring to the table. I said, do they realize you have a master's? She was like, no, I'm just a contractor. I'm consulting in this capacity. I said, no, so I worked with her and she got a raise rather than being cut from the program she was in.
Wow. And see,
Yes.
that's what I love about you and I as our friendship has grown. We always been able to attract people and push people to their higher heights. Basically, purpose driven women, or just we're really in our calling and we don't know it. And
Oh, we know it. I know I'm in my calling. We know, duh. I know I'm in my calling. I know. Racita, you
yeah,
in
so
your calling.
we was
Come on.
it's like, yeah, we gotta go and walk wholeheartedly and know what we stand for and our values we bring to the table. And that's what I always loved about you, because I can call you and have those hard talks and I get off the phone. I don't have to talk to Gloria for 3 more months, 4 months. I'm good. She's right. It'll soak in eventually when we get off the phone. But the thing about it is, really, you have always been a vessel used to help others through those transition times. And I remember you telling me about the things that you didn't have. And when you went through going from masters, you got to that level, that wasn't your fulfillment. But me hearing you now, Gloria, I could just tell you, you're being fulfilled by the purpose of helping others. And I
Yes.
can even see the glow on your face now.
Thank
You know, that
you.
happy instead of, "Well, since I only got 30 minutes to talk, with this all we can do today," because, and I understood that assignment because you had to sacrifice for your success in order to get to your significant part of life. And
It
that's
was not
what
it
I
was
see.
not a for some people were gifted. I don't know, few people were gifted with success, but some people had to work for it. Like,
Yeah, me.
some people had to work harder than others. And
Yes,
I'm not. And when I meet people who've had it easier than I've had it, I'm happy for them,
me
truly,
too.
genuinely, because not everyone needs to go through the hustle that I went through. And then when I meet people who've had it worse than I've had it, I'm willing to pull them up and tell them, you know what, it might be hard, but you can get to the other side.
Yes, and see, that's what I always love, like, we always talked about these things. I remember even in 2018, we was out and we just did business what is afternoon nightcap, and it wound up 12 o'clock. We still talking about these visions in
Correct.
2018 in the
Correct.
car,
In the
and
car, I remember writing notes,
right,
and then I know one of the things, oh my God, I remember
and my
one of the
husband
things I
called, was
wrote
like, "Are
was
y'all
that,
still out?" He called because it was like 1 o'clock, and we're in the car just talking about where we saw ourselves in the next 10 years. We talked
do you
about
know what I do you know
5.
what I wrote in my notes? One of my notes, what I wrote was that I'm willing to work for the life that I want. I
Yeah.
wrote that night. I was like, I'm willing to work for the life that I want.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No more." Gloria, Dr. She's right. No more. I do have imposter syndrome. Let me go and research this more, which I wind up building a course on it like 2 years ago. I built a course on imposter syndrome with entrepreneurs because people need to hear that. People need to hear it's okay to struggle, but just don't give
Yeah.
up. Just,
Yeah. So
you know,
maybe for me as an immigrant to the US, right?
uh-huh.
So every day I was uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So I just grew comfortable with being uncomfortable. I never It was just like, oh, I'm not from here.
yeah,
I sound different. I see things different. I didn't watch the TV shows you watched. I don't know, you don't know what I know. I don't know what you know. And for everywhere I go, I had to put that extra effort to find a level of connection before I could connect with people.
right
So just that discomfort, you just have to get used to it.
to it.
If you want to be comfortable for the most part, then you're just going to be with your family, because
Yeah,
that's your comfort zone. If you're ready to make
right.
anything valuable out of your life, you have to be in that meeting where you're like you were talking about earlier. You're like, okay, so why am I here? You meet people and they are happy to see you, and you're like, okay, why is this person really happy to see me? Who am I?
What,
So you
who
have to get used to it. Yeah.
and I think that's very important because, like, even just a few months ago, I get this email, and the University of Tuskegee, they didn't even know my daughter went there, but they referred me as a concierge for a big official that was coming in town. And I'm like, wow, I never met these people, but by your values you're bringing to the table, people hear about you,
Of
and guess what?
course.
They want to connect and connect good people together. And
Correct.
I believe in that connection and communication and all of the things in the walks of life. And I think that's what make you and I both unique is because we had to go through the experiences. We chuckle and laugh about it, and then we're like, imposter syndrome might kick in for a day or two, but we get back up and fight some more.
Oh, yeah. We
And
don't
that's what
stop.
people have to do because really rejection, I feel like rejection is my next of kin now.
So I did a podcast recently on just how to deal with no, and then someone made a comment on the podcast, on the YouTube podcast, and she said, asking yes and no were all mutual friends. Yes, you have to make friends with no. Like when I would ask, for the things I'm asking for right now, like they are so big, I can't even believe I'm asking. But I'm like, what's the worst that could happen?
Right. That's
So I'm not
Like,
losing anything. Maybe I may lose some time that I spent in asking.
mhm,
My ego may get bruised just a little bit, but I've learned something. I've become more confident. I've learned how to talk to people at that level who I'm asking for.
yes,
I've learned, okay, and then I ask myself, okay, why did I say no? Did I not ask right? Did I not ask
right.
the right person? Was it the wrong timing? Then I ask myself those questions, right? I don't take the position of a victim.
Yeah, I love it. You don't take and see, that's what rejection do to some people. It takes the like you said, victim, you become the victim. Now childhood trauma comes up, all the rejections in school, high school, college, whatever comes up. And I look at rejection as a part, okay, maybe I'm on to something and I have
Yeah.
to figure out and get more
How?
experience and feed my soul and basically books, groups, to
Yep.
get the knowledge to come back and know how to navigate and get to that part. If that's a part in my life that needs to be, how could I say, helpful for me, I could say helpful for me.
Yeah.
But rejection is just a part of it. And like I said, you said the victim part. I love it because we can't be
Yeah.
victim anymore. We can
No,
be,
because when you take that position, and sometimes we are truly victims, I'll tell you. Sometimes we are.
uh-huh,
However, I don't take that position. I could see what you're doing, right? I could see someone that's trying to be mean to me, but I will flip that narrative in my head because it all depends on my lens, right? So if I put on the lens of victim, I could really see like you've been mean to me, poor old Gloria. You're
right,
Nigerian. You're
right.
just a girl.
Right.
You're black.
You're not gonna make it here in the US. You're not gonna like
No.
me, like all those things come in my head. And what I did recently, and I know you probably know about this. 3 years ago, my business coach, she gave me 2.0, 2 years ago, 2.0 strength finders. Well, I just took that test, that book that she sent me. I never opened it, took the test 3 months ago. And I'm like, wow, tears came down my eyes because number one gift that I have is positivity. Number two was includer. I like to include people. Number three is idealist because I like to take zero and turn it into something. But the number one thing I could say about learning your strengths and focusing in that area, it helps you grow and develop who you are and what you call. So I had to look back and say, oh, this is why I'm always invited to these tables. This is
Yeah.
the reason why, because that script that you just talked about flipping, you have to grow on
You
flipping
you
it because if
you you
not,
you have to because life is hard.
it's
Life
hard.
is gonna
Life be life.
genuinely. Yeah, yeah, because sometimes you really are that you are a victim, but
Uh-huh.
but then you don't throw your power away because every
Yes.
time you take on that posture of a victim,
Mhm.
you've given the power to circumstance, to your boss, to
Yes.
someone else. However, when stuff happens and then you're like, no, I'm not gonna take the position of a victim. How can I flip this story? How can I make lemonade out of these lemons? How can I make this a thing of strength rather than something that killed me or put me down? So
Put
you
me
just
down.
have to, yes. And I mean, sometimes it's okay when you go through stuff and then you take time and you feel bad and you be in your feelings. Nothing wrong
Mm.
with that. Sometimes you need that, but don't stay there for too long.
Yes, I
Like,
agree. Not
yeah, don't
yeah,
stay there
do
for
a
too long.
reset. Yeah.
Give yourself a time. Say, okay, how much time do I usually require to get to just mourn and all right, I
Yeah.
got fired. I don't expect you to get fired and then the next morning you're like, where's the next job? No,
Yeah.
just
No.
yeah, take some time to regroup and then come back with more
Yeah.
power.
And that's the number one thing, power. You gotta add the power to yourself. Don't look for the power from anyone else.
No one's gonna give you. They want
No.
to take what you have. They want to take your power. No one's gonna give you power.
No, no,
No.
no, no. You
And
have to
even
look
good
for
people, they're not gonna give you except you ask for it or you show up like you're ready for it.
yes. Yes, 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 and you're right about that. Show up like you're ready for it, eager for
Yeah,
it, and they see the gift that's in you, and that's
correct.
why you're able to negotiate salaries and negotiate your salary now, and also help others. That's the number one thing.
Correct.
You're out now helping others, and it's a big part of serving in life, and it leads from success to significant. So I could see the fulfillment with you right now. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it.
Yes, this is the most fulfilled I've ever been because I love medicine. I love being a doctor. It's one of the greatest privilege for someone to walk into my clinic or I see them in the hospital and they tell me their most vulnerable stories.
Uh-huh.
And then they let me, I'm like, oh, I want to listen to your heart. They let me, I want to press on your belly. They let me. I take that as sacred and I'm thankful to God that I have that skill and I'm a good doctor. I'm thankful to
Mhm.
God that I have that. But what makes me happier or it's because even though my patients when I was in Albany in Georgia, my patients they were like they were getting free coaching from me. Like what
Yeah.
make me the happiest is when my patient comes back and say, you know what, doctor, I've signed up for the nursing program. I'm gonna be a nurse. You said I could, you said you saw that I could do better. I've gone to sign up for that.
Oh, don't that give you fulfillment? Oh my
That
God.
just makes me happy.
It does. Like let me tell you this story, what you just mentioned. I had a girl at Dollar General. I was just running in, looked a mess at one night, late night, and I had to run in and get something real quick. And she stopped me and she used to be at the gym with me. And she was like, do you look, stop, stop. Rosita, I'm so happy to see you. I've been wanting to text you on Facebook because 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I told her she can be so much better than what she is. Why settle? Become a real estate agent or put that energy in what you're doing out here into something because you really got a gift. You got a gift to sell and to bring people to you. Use it in other areas. And she went and got her real estate license. And she was
Wow.
an assistant driving from Montgomery to Birmingham first. She got a job being a real estate assistant, and she went on to get her license because
Wow.
she thought about what I said 3 years ago, and I'm like,
Wow.
"Wow," and you hear it a lot, but that gives me fulfillment, or that mom sending me their first Christmas in their home, and they're a first generational buyer because they can
Mm.
afford a home, and it could be a new construction, they send me those pictures. That gave me a lot of fulfillment, so I can really understand. That's why I
Yeah.
see on the coaching contrast, like, really, you're between medical doctor. We shared so many stories from clients, we both did, that we laughed about because 'cause we're like, "We gotta hold our face and
Oh yeah.
be there and be used as that vessel," but in our head, we're saying, "God, how in the world could we help them without basically being like, this is crazy. Why are we here again? We're really therapists at the end of the day. You do know that, right? We're consultants at the end of the day. But I can say this with you, I just see you just at a better place right now. Why I see you now transition from doctor, now you're open consultant. We talked about this. Even when I joined Maxwell, you was like, Racynta, why you do? I said, I don't know. And then I called you. I'm like, there's so many medical doctors down here being
Yeah.
certified to go and
Yeah.
coach and help other people. Look, they're helping because it's a need, And
There's a huge need.
it's a huge need, and even when I decided to transition from Remax over into getting my own brokerage, I thank you for putting me on your prayer line at 5 a.m. with is the doctor I can't Oki I
Yeah.
Okuda. Like you're like Racynta, get out of your head and get on this at 5 a.m. to pray. And I like weekly, maybe once, twice a week, I do get up still at the 5 a.m. I give myself not 5 days a week now, maybe more like three-ish or four-ish, but I get on there and it's always value. I'm like, wow, people go through the same thing in life.
Oh yeah. Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, it helps. So I thank you for putting me with her because she's been
Of
great at
course.
those 5
There's
a.m.
nothing like having the right community, the right association.
Yeah,
So you just keep getting that fuel to just keep going. Or
yeah,
when you've been challenged, well, the other person also went through that. So
yeah,
I'm not that special. We're all special. Everyone's special. So we're all
yeah.
going through life together, which is just amazing to have the right community around you while you're
Mhm.
growing, not people who are pulling you down, people who are telling you, oh, you're not good enough. They remind you
Yes,
of all the faults you've had in life, all the times you didn't
yes.
succeed. They remind you, you'd rather have people who say, yeah, I went through that, but I'm on the other side. Oh, you can
Yeah,
come, we can go, let's go, let's go. That's
let's
what we
go, let's
want.
go. Yeah, and that's what make a community really important. Like right now, I'm building up a community, help women, help realtors, own school, but it's important to have those places where people can just drop and say, this is what I'm going through. And you could say, it's okay. Because a lot of people are fearful to say, look, I feel this way. I'm going through this. and they hold it back, and then it become a monster on the inside of us.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I'm right now, I was actually writing the other day and it came to me, opportunity basically hold us back in our mind. The opportunities do. You know,
Tell me about that.
I'm bring it up. Look, you know me, I'm forever writing and journaling. And I'm like, I was like, did I just create something? Because
Seems like you're onto a unique idea. Tell
yeah,
me.
I promise you, deficiency of the mindset.
Hmm.
And it's a part of us thinking about from poverty to scarcity and over to success down to significant. So it's it's basically us thinking we don't have it all. We do, but we can align it together, right? With all our talents.
Yeah.
All the opportunities that we really think we don't have, we have it. We just have a deficit in our mind
Our minds. Yeah.
to attract it on abundance. So I
Hmm.
think it's very important for us to see the gratitude side of things, the gifts, the strength, and
Yeah.
then we focus in those areas. And so now I'm training my mind. I just started writing that and I'm like, wow, I might be on to I was in the gym one morning on the bike, just woo, 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 woo. And then I'm talking to Chat GPT. We're going back and forth. It was like, look, you this is really opportunities in our minds. We hold it back because we deprive ourselves of where we need to go or where we can go and where we can be fulfilled.
And that might be there might be a fear factor
It
where
is. It is.
yeah, where you're like, oh, I want to because I could say, you know what, I'm used to the US. That's where I have my investment. My family is here. And then even when I had inclination to move to Dubai, I could say, well, no, I'm scared and then stay back. But I didn't give in to that fear. I'm like, you know what? I can always come back to the US. If it doesn't work out here, I can always come back. But I don't want
Right.
to live my life wondering what could have happened. And in a year, Racynta, we don't know what conversation you and I will be having because this is literally literally just moved. It's 4 days here.
Oh, that's you 4 days, and I felt so great. Gloria's like, look, can I get on your podcast? Can we just talk? And I just see the glow on you, the fulfillment of you transitioning. And guess what? Being a consultant or being a coach like myself, consulting and helping others, we can do it from anywhere. Because the
Well,
only
of
thing we
course,
got to do is show up and be our
yes,
authentic self.
and I do public speaking. So they
Oh,
yes,
you
yes,
know
yes.
I'm coming to visit you. No ifs, ands, or buts. You just got to tell me once you get settled.
Is this supposed to be the podcast,
Uh,
Racynta?
we're on the podcast, but I'm coming.
You know
Because
you're
that
welcome
was on our
anytime.
list to come. Yeah, because I'm just happy and to see you as a friend glowing like you are being fulfilled and coming from
Yeah,
that era and teaching me about Maxwell, not only teaching me, we're teaching each other and growing,
further.
showing up for each other as friends should. And I just thank you and being on a
Yes.
podcast, not just being on a podcast, but being a part of the journey, right?
Thank you. And so have you been in my journey as well. It's been beautiful. So before we end, I just need to poke you a little bit. Let me challenge you a little bit. Have you done real estate investment in Dubai? Is that something you've looked into?
Oh, girl, I'm ready. Going to get those conferences. Look at some conferences where I can come and speak, and with my I send you the bio, so we could go and network on that because real estate
And you
investment.
could buy and you could buy property
Yeah,
here. You could have people
yeah,
buy here as well, you know.
yes, yes.
'Cause
I'm
I bought some here. We
what?
yes. Yes, I did. I
I'm
did.
so proud of you. Like, look, so are you gonna rent them out? Like, what are you gonna do? Tell us your goals.
The way real estate yes, it's to rent out.
Okay,
Right now I just rented an apartment I'm staying for the first
okay.
5 weeks. Once I know the lay of the land, then I'll decide on where I'm gonna move to. However, the way real estate works to a large extent in Dubai, because it's a growing city. It's
Hmm.
not, even though it's developed, if I look out my window, there's so many constructions going on all around town.
Wow.
And for the first time, because Dubai is though it's progressive, it used to be it's a
Hmm.
Muslim country, but
Hmm.
you don't have to be Muslim to live here. Apparently, I'm not Muslim, but
Yeah.
they just had they're building their first casino, which I think would launch 2007, 2008. And
Yeah.
so in that region, they are building houses, and they build like skyrise buildings all around that casino area. But still go, they still have buildings all around the city, and you pay into the building before you see it. They have like models that you could look at, and then
Really?
yes, and you do like, and you pay like different percentages. You could do like 10% the first, once you indicate you do a percentage when you indicate interest, and then when it launches you pay another percentage, and then over, some would say you pay 20%. No, I take that back. 30. That's the least I've seen. You pay
Mhm.
30% while the building is being constructed. And then after that, then you can finance. So that's what I did. So close to where they had a casino. So I got
Wow!
to
Look, congrats! Look, I
thank
love
you.
it. Level up, level up, level up. Look, now you can teach me about Dubai and your connections because you had to go and educate yourself in that area and challenge yourself.
Of
But that,
course.
see, I was thinking more like investing or getting investors to come into or getting investor even coming in Alabama, but you're on a whole different level.
I'm
So
international now. I'm global. I'm global.
I love it. I love it. And it started out with Coach Home Chaser, you guys. Back
I did, that's how I started. I can't deny that. That's how I started.
yes. Knowledge is everything, you know, and knowledge is everything. And
I would say knowledge is everything, because so many
mhm,
people have the knowledge.
mhm.
So,
But
some
they
so, so some people do not have the knowledge, right? They don't know. And then there's a point of where you know, and then you applying what you know. Many people are scared.
I,
Many people are
yeah.
not willing to take risk.
But see, that's why I just told you and I pulled up my course. Opportunity deficiency is a mindset because we hold ourselves back with the opportunities, the talents that we have. Mentally,
Right.
we sometimes hold ourselves back from the abundance level. So all of it goes hand in hand. But guess what? We got to be the vessels used to teach other people the way.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that's the part that you and I both are getting fulfilled on right now instead of just going through the experiences. Look, we didn't have
Mhm.
enough experiences. Let's share these experiences to level other people up.
Yes.
So even with international investment, Dubai, Dr. Gloria
Dubai.
from Alabama. I love it. I love it. I love it. But I thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me and also on the Unbreakable podcast. And what are your closing to the audience? What could you tell us?
Okay, so I let me say one thing first. So because I teach women how to negotiate, and even though I teach women, this can also be transferred to anybody. So the
Mhm.
first thing in any negotiation deal is to know your value, or if you're buying a home, know what's the home worth, right? What's the comps in the area. So the
Yes.
same way with you is know your value, know your strengths. What do I
Mhm.
bring to the table? So always know, and know you're worth much more than you realize. Because I work with people and I'm like, no, that's a strength. Oh, you think being a mother is a drawback? No, no, no. That's one of your superpowers. So know your superpowers.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
yes, you need to know your superpowers. And then number two is learn how to take calculated risk. It's
Oh,
very important. Once you don't need to, once you analyze and you say, okay, what are the pros and the cons, and the pros are more than the cons, and then you know if you fall, how far you're gonna fall, and you know you're okay with that, then take
mhm.
that risk. You know.
And you know what you're basically saying is to me, that's a part that I've been doing the last 2 or 3 years. The triggers. You got to know how you're going to feel in that state. What's happening every time you go to this state, when you go to that state. But you got to know if you fall there, it's okay. Get back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know, look, you can't keep going back. You can't keep going back to the same because it increases the ability for imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, all those things to come back. So you're right. Glow up,
Yeah.
like I call it growing and glowing in your own value, right?
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
important because it's
Very.
important for you to know what you bring to the table. And I thank you so much because you bringing a lot to this table. And first non-real estate agent, but investor being on the Unbreakable podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
So
for
I thank
having me,
you.
Racynta.
That's great, 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 great. But all right, look, until next time, maybe 6 months by December, we'll be back on here to see how things
Yes, to
are.
see what I've done in Dubai.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and send us some pictures, which I'm gonna be there, you guys. That might be my birthday in December trip. What about that? Yeah, I'm onto something. Thank you, Dr. Gloria, for being a part. Okay.
Thank